Good morning. So this is the second video in a series of 6 videos where I explain each one of the 6 modules of the YouTube data tools. There is also an overview video that you can consult to get a general introduction. And today I'll be looking at the channel list module. You should have all of the links to the other videos, but also to the YouTube data tools themselves in the video description. And to start off, I'm just gonna jump right here to the channel list module. And the channel list module is basically a way to get, well, a list of channels and quite a bit of metadata, so additional information for each one of these channels. In terms of entry points, there are 2. One is a search query, so basically trying to find channels that correspond to a particular topic, to a particular issue, as you express it in textual form. And then there is the possibility here to insert a number of channel IDs. So these unique identifiers of channels. I talk about this in the introduction video. And this could, for example, come from a video search, right? Where you actually want to simply get more information, structured information for each one of these channels. The output is a spreadsheet style file in either CSV, comma separated, or tab file, tab separated. Some software prefers the one, mostly CSV. Other tools prefer the tab file. In this video, I'm basically going to show you how to use the different parameters here, and then how to download and open one of those files and do some basic analyses real quick in Google Sheets, just as an example. Excel would be very similar, or other tools. But let's start with the search query, right? This is quite similar to doing a search in the YouTube interface, right? We could, for example, say, okay, let's search something on Israel-Palestine conflict, right? Let's go directly into the big stuff. And if I just search for this, I get a bunch of videos. But the search function here, if I click on the right here on filters, also allows me to focus or limit my search to channels. See, type video, channel, playlist, movie, channel. And here indeed I get a bunch of channels that YouTube considers relevant to the search query. That doesn't mean that the exact query appears necessarily in the channel description or the channel name. In this case, in the first one, it does. But as we scroll down, we see, for example, Al Jazeera, right? So that means that there is algorithmic matching that Google performs. And this is something we obviously have to take into account. But the YouTube data tools basically allow us to perform a search like this with more parameters, more detail, and then get a much more structured output that we can, kind of work with in a more systematic fashion. I'm just gonna copy the search query and I'm gonna go back to the YouTube data tools here into the channel list module and just walk you real quick through those parameters. The search query, let's stay with the same. And that is basically handed over to the API, right? Being used as a query. And then there's a series of optional parameters. For example, here, the relevance language, we could do something like, FR would be French, and so forth. If you click here, you get a list of the codes. The same goes for the region codes, right? Which is more like a geographic specification. My impression is that these parameters, they do a little bit of stuff, but actually not all that much. The query really primes here, and particularly the query language. So if you if you have a query that's in English, most of your results are going to be in English. This and also the other parameters is really something that you need to experiment with a little bit to kind of get a feel for how this works. So that's the first set of parameters. The second set basically concerns the number of results we want to get. If I put 1 here, it gets 1 page of results, and that is up to 50 items. If I put 2, it's 100 items, and the max is 10, which would then be 500 results. And this is the most you can get, basically. Let's leave that maybe on just 2 to, keep it manageable. Then I also have the possibility to limit the search to channels that were created at a particular time. So I could look for older channels, for example, say, okay, I want channels that were created, after 1970, but before 2015. So that would mean those are really older channels. And that can kind of, depending on your research question, be an interesting way of limiting or already kind of orienting a bit your results, especially if you have a query that has a lot of results. Maybe you already want to filter it down a little bit here. And then in this drop-down box here, we have what's probably the most complicated, because this kind of, we don't know all that much here, about the proprietary ranking methods. But it's clear that these parameters have some influence, and the default is relevance. It's the same as in the YouTube interface, where the default ranking method, if I go back here, is relevance. And relevance is YouTube's basically proprietary way of, on the one side, ordering channels, so what's on top, what's on the bottom, but also to perform semantic matching. So in my experience, if you choose relevance, you get not just channels, or it's actually the same if you search for videos that use those exact terms, but there's going to be a wider, semantic net that is being thrown. So in general, when you use relevance, you get more results than if you use, for example, date, where also indeed the matching is more stringent. Rating for channels, I think, takes the collective ratings for all videos, but we don't know, right? Alphabetical, I think, is relatively self-explanatory. And then we can select also video count, right? So the number of videos a channel has published. So this would allow us to find the most prolific channels, or view count, which is, I think, all of the views of all of the videos taken together. The thing is, if you have a query, and well, this is of course, Israel-Palestine conflict, that's a very broad query, right? But if you have a query that's a bit more specific, it's not all that important what you use here, because you could then sort the videos afterwards, right? If, let's say, have a more specific query and the search function finds 300 videos, you can simply say, okay, I put the max here, I got my 300 videos, and I sort them afterwards. But take into account that relevance is going to be more semantically, transformative than date, and I also think the others. I think manual selection is relatively straightforward. It's you can simply take a number of channel IDs separated by comma. I'm not going to look into this in more detail, but now I'm just going to run this query. I probably have to, I don't have to click around in the Google Captcha to prove that I'm not a robot. But here I have all of my queries. I think I'm just not gonna limit it to a specific time frame, 2 iterations, so I'm gonna get up to 100 channels. Of course, if it finds fewer channels, there's fewer channels, right? I'm gonna submit the query. It's gonna run through it. Basically, you can see here 0, 1, it did 2 searches, and then it found 97 channels, and created a file with, well, 97 rows. I can download that. It's already opened it here. And I'm just gonna, I've already prepared, here in this tab, I've already prepared just a folder in my Google Drive. And I can directly, in Firefox, drag this from here. It's gonna upload it. And then if I double click on the file, it's gonna give me a preview, and you can already see what's happening here. Yeah, I'm gonna zoom in a bit to make the reading clearer. So here we have our 97 channels that YouTube considers relevant to the query Israel-Palestine conflict. You can see there's quite a bunch of columns. And yeah, we're gonna see more when we open it in Sheets, but already we get some preview here, right? We can then here click on Open with Google Sheets. It's gonna take a second, and now we have this kind of different view of these channels. I'm also gonna zoom in here a bit so you can see better. Yeah. So what we could do here is we already, just by looking at it, learn some stuff. We got here the channel titles. If I make this a little bit bigger, there's a channel description. Those are the channel IDs here, right, in the list on the left. In some cases, country flag. I mean, when you see stuff like this, 3 country flags missing, it's quite a bit of the information that we get in these files, that we get from YouTube, is being populated by the channel owner. So it's not kind of YouTube that does some inferring. No, the channel owner has to put a country there. And if they don't, well, there isn't. And that's true for quite a number of things. In some cases, it's YouTube that attributes information. In other cases, it's a channel owner, and then it's basically their kind of affinity to produce metadata. View count, and this is exactly what I talked about before. So that's really the cumulative count of all videos. And you can see here, it's how much is this? This is 3 billion views for Al Jazeera here. Subscriber count, and you can see it looks a bit strange. Like, okay, that's a surprise. That's a coincidence that it's exactly 12 million while we look. But of course it's not. It rounds information. I think to limit other data extraction tools, and to limit, for example, if you do like bot operations to see, you can manipulate that. Yeah. Video count, Al Jazeera has 108,000 videos, right? So that's a lot, right? We get a thumbnail image for the channel, and then we get keywords, and those are set by the channel creator. And we get topic details, and those are set by YouTube. So that's really based on some inference. And it's a limited number of categories. So for example, you can see here society, parent, topic. There's a little bit of a hierarchy. So here you can see it's politics, well, dash, right? So it's 2 topics, society, parent, topic, which means that actually politics is a subtopic of society. This can be interesting to then, maybe focus on a particular kind of channel. And now we could do already quite a bit of stuff here, right? We could do some textual analysis with the titles and the description, if kind of that's interesting for our research question. We could order the channels based on some metric, or we could also filter them based on topic details. In most cases, we're maybe not gonna do that much analysis with this file because, yeah, I mean, it's this relatively broad overview. What we would do is maybe use this file to select channels to get the videos for, right? But just to show you real quick a bit what one can do here just with Google Sheets is the first action that I always do when I open something is I mark the first line, then I click right into it and I say create a filter. That basically, you can see it makes the first line, the column names bold, and it adds these triangles here that allow me to do a bunch of stuff, right? So for example here, view count, I click on that, and then I say sort by Z to A. And I order my spreadsheet based on the view count. And that, could already be a way of selecting, saying, okay, I want to work with the first 10, the 10 channels that have the most views. That could be a decision. And I can do this, of course, with all of the other metrics here as well. I could also say, well, maybe I want to filter the title or the description more specifically. And I could say, okay, go here on title. And then here there's this thing, filter by condition. If I click up on that, I get a bunch of, so I can, for example, say, okay, I want to filter empty, or I want to filter channels that have, for example, no country. And I would check here, is empty, is not empty. Really nice text contains. And I could, for example, say Israel. And suddenly I only have the channels that actually have the word Israel in the title. Yeah, I can go on none again, and then we get the full thing. I could do the same thing here with the topic details. Let's say I only want to select channels that are specifically based on or targeting politics as a topic. Could do the same here, right? Filter by condition, text contains politics, and here you go. Now we have only these channels. I think that's basically it for this year. I mean, we could also order by publishing date and like other things. But what I would do in many cases is saying, okay, I make a selection here, and then I'm going to try and take the channel IDs, and I'm going to use those channel IDs to go then to a different module in the YouTube data tools. And get the videos, all of the videos for these channels. If I want to specifically analyze these channels. I mean, here we're already kind of looking for a particular topic, so we would then also maybe have to filter the videos that we find quite a bit. But I think, yeah, this is more showing you some technical stuff rather than thinking about the research logic. If I have these video IDs, channel IDs, I can, for example, just mark this, click copy, and then what I would do is copy them into a text editor. Here we go. This is, by the way, one of the great text editors in this world, Sublime Text. It exists for Mac, for Windows, for Linux. It's really performant. You can add very large files, edit very large files with that. And it also allows you to do quite some interesting modification. It's a text editor, not a spreadsheet program. Not a word processor, right? So it really just edits text. There's no formatting, nothing. But the thing is, if I want to get the videos for, let's say, these channels, I mean, I just chose them here. We could go back into into the YouTube data tools, right? And say, okay, let's go into the video list modules. And here basically, go through every channel, download the video list that we get, and then analyze the videos in more detail. But okay, so this was just a quick overview of the channel list module. So some parameters, particularly important, maybe the rank by, and then you get a CSV file, and you can analyze that, for example, in Google Sheets, in Excel, or in other tools. That's it. Bye-bye.